So it's almost been a day since the Inside Xbox episode of the third-party gameplay experience for the next gen system. I kind of put a lot of this out on Twitter so people can go check that out, but I really didn't enjoy it as much as I thought I would enjoy it. Now, it started out really well, and I think games like Bright Memory really showed a possibility of what we can expect in the next generation. But when it comes to the offerings that we got on the table, it felt more of the same. What I mean by that is it felt like more Xbox Game Pass communication. It felt like more of what Inside Xbox has always been. If they would have never hyped this event around third-party developers showcasing next-gen gameplay, I think this event would have been one of the best ones they did when it comes to an Inside Xbox episode. But once you start hyping it, telling people that you're going to see next-gen gameplay, which we haven't seen up until this point, people start fantasizing of what they can actually see the next gen system being capable of. And I think that is where the disconnect is between the publisher, which is Microsoft, and the consumer, which is us. I just think that they came out and really hammered in the whole narrative that this was the beginning of the next generation, and you're going to get a chance to see why you should own the Xbox Series X. And I think they did not deliver on that promise. Yes, did they show some gameplay? Absolutely they did. Was it next gen gameplay? How can you have next gen gameplay on games that's been out for over 2 years on other platforms? But I just think that there is just that disconnect, and I don't think they did anything wrong per se. Like I said, I think the event itself was actually pretty good. I like the structure of it. I like the energy that was put into it. I just didn't like the information I got out of it versus what information most people assumed they were going to get out of it. And that is pretty much it on it. Now, when it comes to the games, a lot of the games were actually pretty interesting. Like I said, Bright Memory was pretty interesting. Scorn, that alien looking game, you know, with the H.R. Geiger stuff. I was like, look, man, I am a huge Alien fan, and most people know it. So when I saw that, I was like, man, this looks interesting. And, you know, then we had, you know, chest busters that look like penises coming out of doors or walls, I should say. It was just all really, really interesting. I think when it comes to expectations going forward, Microsoft definitely can learn from this. I want to give a shout out to Aaron Greenberg, because he did fall on the sword about this event, saying that, you know, they are really paying attention to what we said and our feedback on how this was perceived by the player base. And like I said, I really appreciate that, because this is what Microsoft needs to do going forward, and they don't need to lose the momentum that they had going into this event, because this event doesn't change the fact that Microsoft is doing everything well. Like I said, this was a misstep in just the communication side of what we want versus what they were going to show us. They're trying to do everything right to a certain point, but sometimes you just got to let stuff flow. They're putting their third parties out here to, you know, showcase their stuff, but I think people were really, really looking forward to that Assassin's Creed gameplay. I think when that became the centerpiece of this event and they don't show gameplay at all, I'm just at a point where I just feel like developers think that in-game assets and in-game gameplay are the same thing, which they're not. And shout out to Albert Pinella. He actually put this out on Twitter, and we're gonna put it up on the screen. Okay, serious question, no trolling. When you hear official gameplay, what does that mean to you? I've been out of this for a while, so perhaps the definition has drifted. I think of gameplay as showing a segment of actual game running versus in-game trailers. Is it just me? And look, man, that hits it right on the head. I expect to see gameplay of a person playing the game, not actually saying the person has to be right there in front of you on the stage playing it, but from the person's perspective of controlling the game and seeing exactly what you will experience in that game versus what was pre-made for you in a segment that was just cut out of a VOD that was crafted for that one experience. And Mikey Barr actually got in on this tweet and said some stuff, and he said, to me it means a snapshot of what it is like for a real person to play with a controller on that particular build of the game, controlling the experience as the game has been intended. Making the terminology even more confusing was an incredible odd move, and that hits it right on the head. It's like gameplay isn't just looking at a cinematic. It's not just seeing in-game techniques used by every developer out there where they just take an in-game cutscene and just show it to you as gameplay. There's a lot of games that actually do that. Destiny does it too. I love that game, and there are in-game cutscenes that look like the game, but it's not the game. It's not what you are actually playing, and that's what I think the disconnect was for this whole event. So I'm not gonna kill him for this one. I'm not saying that this event was a complete waste of time. I mean, we did see some genuinely good games that are coming, and we realized that a lot of this stuff is coming to Game Pass, and a few of the games were console exclusive, and I think that's a really great move that Microsoft is really coming into their own when it comes to what they want to offer in their service called Game Pass. And then they also have a lot of Japanese developers involved with the next generation system, because pretty much most of these games were all coming from, you know, the land of the rising sun, and I think that is another good thing because it just brings diversity and everything to the platform, and that's something that Xbox desperately needed. So we're just gonna chalk this up as a misunderstanding between the publisher and the fan base. Let's just hope that when Aaron Greenberg tweeted out his thoughts on basically apologizing for the misunderstanding between themselves and us, that they really take that into consideration when they bring out the big guns starting in the next month or so when it comes to these next events. We do have these Xbox digital events 2020 going on each month all the way up until the launch of the system, so it's going to get better. I just don't want us to take our pressure off of Microsoft to keep improving and being a better version of themselves, because as of right now they're riding sky high. It can easily all be taken away from them, especially if Sony comes out and starts being what Sony normally was this whole generation. All that hard-earned momentum can be taken away just like that. But it's been another video with your boy Gaming Forte. I just wanted to get some clarification on my thoughts out there with nobody else having anything to say around it. So you guys have a great week. You enjoy the rest of this beautiful weekend. Stay safe, play games, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.